Hey, what's up everyone? Linda Key here, coming at you from the unceded territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy and Métis Region 3, where I feel blessed to live, work, play, and create. Today's special guests are Kate Mack and Sachin Sudra, wellness practitioners here to speak with us on being well.
Lately I've been trying to find my way to a place where life is more than empty space. Wondering where I belong, just don't fit in, 'cause I choose not to play along, no. Life is on.
All right, we're here. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Being Under the Influence. Today, we have two Calgary wellness practitioners, teachers, artists, Sachin Sudra and Kate Mack, to share on their experiences, their perspectives, their hopes regarding your wellness practice and the message. I feel like the message that you are sending out into our community. I will ask first. My first question will be, you're welcome to share a little bit about what you do, more than like in detail than what I've shared about you. And then can you please share a little bit about when you decided to begin this journey into training to become who you are now? Can I start with you, Kate?
Hi, so my name is Kate Mack. I'm a Calgary-based yoga teacher. I've been teaching for just over 13 years now. And I started my yoga practice with no intention of becoming a yoga teacher. It started a long time ago. So I was in my master's PhD program because my parents wanted me to be a doctor. Of course they did, as a good Asian daughter. And I hated it. And I would go to yoga every single day after the lab sessions just because I just had nobody to talk to when I was in the lab. And when I went to the yoga studio, it'd be the first time that someone would actually use my name and ask me how I was. And then as I started to go to yoga a lot more, I started to build the community, and I made a lot of really great friends. And a lot of things happened serendipitously, one after the other. And essentially, I was basically told that if I got a certain teacher training, that my two friends were opening a studio and they would give me a job. And I was so unhappy with what I was doing because I wasn't actually living my life for myself. I was living it for my parents.
You were doing research, like you were in the lab doing research, yeah. What year were you in at that time?
I was so in like the beginning stages.
Oh, okay.
So I think I was only a year and a half in, and someone in the lab had actually, we went out for lunch and she asked me point blank, she said, "Do you want this?" And I was so taken back and I was like, "What? Why are you even asking me this?" And then she just said, "I recognize that you're not happy. And if you don't love academia, you should get out." And I was really kind of like a little pissed off. She said that. But at the same time, she said that. And then my other two friends had basically told me, "Get this teacher training, we'll give you a job." And then I thought to myself, I am unhappy. And I do have this opportunity to become a yoga teacher. So the initial plan was just to become a yoga teacher for a year so that I could find my grounding and reevaluate what I wanted to do. And that was over 13 years ago.
Wow.
So that's how I kind of snuck into the field.
I'm going to go back to this moment when your friends said to you, which I feel is a blessing, that someone who cares about you is being honest. That's what I see. Like, I see something, I'm going to share what I think. And you said, it kind of pissed you off. Do you mind sharing a bit about like why did it make you feel that way initially?
It pissed me off a little because I thought, like, how dare you assume that I don't want this? And then I think on top of that, it was just more of me spinning my own stories that I'm not good enough. She sees that I'm not good enough. She sees that, like, I'm not smart enough, et cetera, when really it was her just recognizing that I wasn't happy.
Right.
And when she continued the conversation, she said, I just see a lot of myself in you.
Right.
She was like 2 years from finishing her PhD. And so she said, it's too late for me to quit. I'm like 2 years from being finished. But she's like, you're at the starting line. And if you don't want this, like, get out.
There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. Are you still close with this
I
person?
am,
Okay,
yeah.
I was just, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because she did some like cellular micromolecular biology research. That's her PhD. But she's actually after she finished her PhD, she went to traditional Chinese medicine, and now she's a traditional Chinese medicine doctor.
Cool, cool. So you both kind of moved into that same,
Kind of the same vein of
Yeah.
like more alternative health and wellness.
yeah, definitely connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, thank you for sharing.
Of course, thank you.
And I want to add I want to share with the audience that I know Kate because I attended her yoga classes. And at that time, I had already attended so many, but Kate is a very, I think you're a very good listener, which is interesting because when you go to class, like as a student, you're listening to the instruction, but there's just something about you that you see people, you welcome people, and that's a big reason why I invited you to come on the show.
Thank you. It's so important, I think, to feel seen and recognized. And I think, especially at the beginning part of my journey into yoga, it was because in the lab I wasn't seen because there literally wasn't anybody else in the lab. And then going to the yoga studio was the first time that someone would use my name, ask me how my day was. And so I think, now I'm on the other side, that it's equally as important to me as a teacher to build the foundation of a community.
Yeah, like a welcoming community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it is. You make me feel very welcome, and I'm sure all the other students.
Yeah, I hope so. That's my goal.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I encourage everyone to check out your classes.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Sachin. I'll repeat the question for you. Can you share a little bit about when you started your journey? Because you are also an Ayurvedic practitioner.
Yeah, definitely. I also wanted just to comment on Kate because I've talked to a lot of people, like all over the place, and they've always brought up how amazing her classes are. Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Truth.
Oh, shucks.
It's true. Yeah. My question for you is, can you share a little bit about what made you decide to study Ayurveda or become a teacher past practicing?
Sure. I guess what led me to become like to study Ayurveda was I kind of went through the business of my ego of wanting to make money. So I worked in Calgary, Alberta, in the real estate industry. I sold condos and was hot, made lots of money, and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't really.
You were in real estate?
Yes.
How did I not know that until this moment? Okay.
Well, just like Kate, all Asians want to make money, right? So that's your parents' why you do. So that's my kid. But hey, I like that anyways. But anyways, I was doing that, but the underlying thing was I was in art school as well for quite a long time, and my passion was furniture design, woodwork.
Where did you attend?
Alberta College of Art and Design.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Cool.
I was also a student there. Great,
Sweet.
cool.
It didn't have a program for furniture design, but I just did a different program to get into it through that T. And yeah, that was just kind of leading me into like my family's lineage. It's called Vishwakarmans, and they're in study of the Vastu Shastras, Sthapatya Veda, which is kind of what I'm from. That's why I got a swastika on my finger. And I guess all those questions were like, hey, it's a swastika. This is like from my culture, and just working with art, man. You know how it is. It's the best thing ever. I just found through that I got more into like my art practice, left doing more of condo real estate, and went full-fledged into art school. And of course, arts, as we know, Linda, all of us here, dance, capoeira, the hip-hop scene, the dance scene, the music, the culture, spoken word. That all kind of relished into like my practice. And then of course, just of course, like not being so attentive like everyone else around me, I felt like what's going to help me. So hey, Ayurveda is kind of was what I was kind of in a sense brought up with, and it those things help me. So if it could be diet, breathing, yoga, stretching, nature, just connecting with the divine, and things just kind of led me from there. And I started teaching community cooking classes as well as an art school, and things just kind of grew from there, and then kind of developed to where I am now.
And so when you say where I am now, I think that's kind of a segue into now that you've both been practicing. As you mentioned, Sachin, we're in Calgary. We come from immigrant families. We're here in the Western world, teaching these ancient ceremonies. I see that in your journey that you've found a space to welcome yourself into this place where you can help, like feel well, feel healthy. And so I guess the second part of the question is, what would you like to see in terms of changes so that we can all kind of use these teachings to create more connection, community, welcoming, and how can we welcome ourselves into it?
Right. I think that whenever I run into people who are always curious about practicing yoga, one of the first things that usually comes is I'm not that flexible, or I don't have these certain outfits, like certain clothing to wear. And then on top of that, I think that they just feel like they're going to be the only person in the room who doesn't know what is going on. And so those are the three major initial barriers I think that people come up against. And, it doesn't matter what you wear to yoga. You do not need to wear $100 pair of pants to go to yoga. You could wear anything that you have at home. And on top of that, going to yoga is going to build your flexibility in addition to so many other things. And then on top of that, nobody's looking at your practice because everybody is in their own practice and they're just trying to balance on their own feet, that no one really cares about what anybody else is doing. I think that one of the really a positive thing that came out of the pandemic, I suppose, is that so many classes of all different types, yoga, Ayurveda, cooking, everything, it just like exploded on very many platforms, and they're all free. And so I do think that because of the pandemic, a lot of people who maybe were a little hesitant about trying something new, doesn't even have to be yoga, found resources online, and we were all in our homes. And so then you would just watch these videos and then join in as in the comfort of your own home and the safety of your own home. And so I think that is something that a lot of us can probably, divest some of our energy into creating free content for people to take at their own time in their own homes.
100%. I think that we can sometimes blame technology for creating a lot of our shortcomings in some way, which I guess everything that's not in balance can create that. But I agree, because during the pandemic, I would hop online, whether it's free or something more affordable, and connect with people all over the world and do some self-care, healthy things for myself, and also connect with people. Even though they were in a different country, I always felt like my teachers really welcomed me and I always felt seen. So that's a good reminder. And some people actually prefer to stay online, even though places are opening up. That Yeah, which I totally understand if that feels more safe.
It's not lost on me that, unfortunately, especially in our city, Calgary, which is by and large like upper middle class folk. And if you take into account too that if you want to just drop into a yoga class, that's $20.
Yes.
And it is prohibitively expensive. But not even that, like, there's a huge gap that we do need to recognize and bridge, that yoga is not accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
And so even if it's online and it's free, that is with the assumption that you are not working, let's say, 2 jobs in a day.
Yeah.
And if you're working 2 jobs in a day, when I come home, the last thing I want to do is turn on my computer and like do a class. And so I think that, a lot of us are recognizing that there's a huge gap that we need to bridge, but it's not that easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you to let that simmer because I'm gonna ask Sachin about your experience and where there are some barriers and some ideas. But because I think that's what it is. There's a gap, but how do we bridge that, right? Like you said, in Alberta, we're very fortunate. We have so much privilege, and even getting back to the online thing, it's like some people might not have a computer or Wi-Fi or the technology for that. So I might come back and ask, like what in terms of the teacher community, what are some ideas that are floating around to change that? But I will switch back over to you, Sachin, if you can share, like, and you're doing such amazing things with community and the indigenous community, like sharing Ayurveda, and I love who you're connecting with and the communities you're connecting with. But can you share a little bit about like what you'd like to see change?
Yeah, I'd like to see if there could be more, like, I guess like funding's the wrong word because like money's always there, but more of programs that can support youth. And I find that's a really big one since I started working with youth, and I just don't mean indigenous youth, I mean youth of all cultures, everyone. It's because I'm seeing them being put into a really weird world, which is like dominated by social media, it's just this the whole thing. And so I wish I wish and I hope that there can be more support for all youth. And I think things that like Kate's doing, like teaching yoga, giving accessible classes, doing it in a fun way that makes people feel like come to them would be. I got a lot of things to say about that, Linda. But that's definitely one of them that really like shouts out to me, because that's, in a sense, that's like, if there's anything I can do like for my life that I can help out, it was really like right now, it's like, I would like to help youth out, because I see how they got challenges.
Can you share more about like other challenges that you see because you work so closely with them? Like, what are other things that we might not be aware of that are?
Well, I see a lot actually, and I can go in a lot of areas with it. But if you want to know about more of like just like the youth side,
Well, some of the challenges, like you mentioned, first you mentioned the money thing, and then you mentioned the social media. Like in what way? Like it's that they're bombarded with it, or that it's
yes, they
taking their
are.
attention. Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah. What other like? So because of it, what do you notice that like? How can what you do, or can you share a little bit about? Is your work combating some of that?
Yeah, so I see definitely when you like can encourage anyone of any age and get them inspired, then to have like say like a sense like a somatic experience that's they're feeling themselves, and then they can feel empowered that they can do this, and then they can use that again. Like I did it with a kid over the pandemic. He was an indigenous youth who ended up in the hospital. It was one of those rooms where they're not allowed to leave. I think he got jabbed, and it took him back to one of his abusers. So I get an Instagram video message. Yeah, and I get an Instagram video message from this youth like at like midnight. I'm like, this is not professional, calling me on this. And he was very unregulated, so I had to regulate, just do some pranayama and some kriyas, just like breathing and regulating. So I feel like those things could be really helpful. also having people that they can trust, and that goes for any age group. I think social media is a beautiful tool. Technology is amazing. I just feel as if it might be a little bit too accessible for some age groups. So they're always on it. The algorithmic content is out of control, which is making people see things that might not be them, and then you might be comparing yourself, and then there's that comparison aspect, which I think can lead to fear. So I think that stuff's bad, but overall, I think everything's good as long as it has a limit. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that this youth contacted you. It
Yes.
sounds like they felt safe with you and they trusted you.
Well, yeah, I did a aromatherapy class with them before the pandemic hit, and they just remembered me, so they'd add me. And I realized that that makes me really responsible since they're younger children as well.
Yeah.
I'm an adult, so I'm actually communicating with them. So I don't really think too much of it because I just like come from a South Asian family. Children, kids are younger, they're all just you always take care of them. So I was like, so it's nice, it's fun, and I think that's what it's about. Just giving people light, making them feel good. Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, I will say that I'm fortunate because I'm working with a program that it's like arts in education. And so if I'm workshopping a class, it's theater based, but it's all about making connections, practicing our listening skills, working being collaborative, and then there are other artists that. One of my co-facilitators teaches Bollywood dancing and shares like all the like what the shapes mean and everything brings you back to nature and the animals and then there's indigenous artists that come and share music and drumming and painting and so I feel really blessed to be in a program like that because I see the similar impact that it's making, that these types of arts and sharing different like sharing our heritage really is creating more wellness in young people. And so
Yeah, I feel that, but I feel it also has to have a connection. There has to be like a bridge point for them as well. Because, like, I see, like, even myself, like, you're talking to a bunch of kids, they're like, what are you talking to me, dude, about cooking with spices here? Like, how is it connected to me? But I think the inaction of that is having them do it. Like, having them do yoga or having them.
oh yeah, they fully participate and we always ask them to bring their own story, their own identity. Like you said, you're going to show them how to cook something, but what is their personal connection to it and how can you express yourself through that?
Like, I just did a class for 21 Indigenous youth from the Sudra Nation, like 2 weeks ago. I didn't cook, they cooked. I just told them what to do. Gave them everything. So, and then some people again, they're shy. They might have trauma, so they might want to do that. So I feel it's as a teacher, or I think I'm a student still, always, but you have to find a way to work with everyone in your classes or work with your theater group. Like how do you work with them? So it's important. Like,
I'd like to bolster of what you just said about and I think maybe some of us don't like to use the word teacher, but Chris was a guest. He was talking about life coaching yesterday, and I really liked how he described that it's a relationship, that you're in relationship with your teacher or mentor, that it's not one person telling the other person what to do. Like you said, they were cooking, they made it their own thing, you're learning with them. And kind of getting back to the idea of when someone comes to your class or when someone goes to you for seeking some support, that it's a reminder that we're in a circle and there's no real hierarchy, and that that you're guiding them but empowering them at the same time. Yeah,
Absolutely. I think the best quote unquote teachers are the ones who can actually hold a mirror up so that the quote unquote student sees themselves the way that the teacher can see them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We do a lot of mirroring exercises in theater, just to be like, and see how we're affected by either mirroring someone or being mirrored, that like experiential kind of learning.
I think one of the things that I recognize is that, especially in the yoga industry, is that it is primarily dominated by not people of color, not Black, and not Indigenous. There are very few BIPOC yoga teachers. And I think, especially when I started my school of yoga to teach other people to become teachers, one of the questions that I have to ask myself is, how do I help diversify the yoga industry? And it's an extremely complicated question with extremely complicated solutions. I think that, especially when we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if anybody, especially BIPOC populations, are mostly in the bottom level of the triangle, which is basic needs, safety, security.
Still trying to meet those needs, yeah.
Exactly. And so I think especially for so many immigrant families come to North America with like hardly nothing. They have to start at the bottom. And I think then children of immigrants, we feel almost like a duty to like make money. Your parents sacrificed so much for you to have a better life, make money. And I think that so many BIPOC children of immigrants don't even have, maybe the opportunities to explore theater, to explore yoga, to explore Ayurvedic cooking, aromatherapy, making teas. It just, the things that we do are kind of like out there. And so I think my hope is that somehow one day, if I could collaborate with like the education system, and instead of asking people to come to yoga, because that is the assumption that you have a vehicle and you have time to get on a bus, to get on the C train, and to come to class, spend the hour there, and then to like go home instead of going to work. That really, I think how we're going to be able to actually diversify is that we have to go to the schools. And I'm talking like junior high, we start there. And it could be an after-school program, like Sachin said, like more programming for youth, where they are now exposed to, the practice of yoga. And then they're like, hey, this is actually really rad, and I want to become a yoga teacher, to actually have programs in place from like junior high onwards that they can actually go to practice for free, access those things, and then be able to like access a teacher training under a scholarship or free.
I 100% agree. I feel the same way about performing arts.
That's how they're going to do it.
Allow not allow, but open up the lens to show that there are many more options, and also building capacity. I think I'll just reflect from a theater perspective that when I see someone that looks like me that's in the theater community or in acting, I always ask, like, how did you get to where you are now? Because for me personally, growing up with divorced parents and a single mother our mom, always supported the arts, but there wasn't anyone kind of watching me, forcing me to do anything. So I had so much freedom to explore different things. I didn't feel the pressure, but a lot of other families or children feel that pressure, that generational pressure. So I always have to inquire, like, what's your story? Because it is it's kind of, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's special. It feels special, and it doesn't need to be. It should be more mainstream, that younger people, as you're saying, should have options, at least be aware of like options than just the 2 or 3 things of like, you either go into medicine, engineering, or law or something. So
I don't know, I was just thinking about this, and I'm just thinking about right now in real time. Gas prices are going up, food prices are going up, living expenses and costs are going up, real estate, blah, blah. And then what's accessibility for people's mental health, and how can they access all these things? And I've been thinking about what's my responsibility in that, because again, you need to eat.
Right.
So I guess I just feel what you were saying when you began the conversation on ceremonies. and how we all have these ceremonies that we do. I really feel like that's an important one to use those and even share those with others to develop their own in a process that actually helps their spiritual resonance develop into a higher vibrational state than just being more low, so that they can feel accessible to have, there's more of a collective consciousness, I guess. Because, I'm okay, but I'm definitely like thinking about what's happening right now in time and what's going to happen like in the next 6 months to a year to two. And I'm not grim. I'm thinking about how can we help out. Yeah. So I do think what Kate says around like what you were saying on ceremony, you were saying on like getting this into public education is important. Yeah. I was listening to like an Indigenous woman today talk on the radio driving here. They were talking about wellness, and the one thing that they were saying was that it's just something that collectively has to be given. It's a part of our lives. It's just not separate. And that and what I was trying to say is it's more of, aside from the monetary value, it should be more of this system of bartering, like what was done in China or the Philippines or in India originally before commerce came into fact. Now it's all around money, which is beautiful and great, but it can tend to be stressful, I think, and then accessibility can stop.
The exchange, yeah, absolutely, 100% agree.
Yeah, I think as a collective, we can do so much together.
Yeah.
Because if it was only me embarking on like after school programs, I won't get very far. But then if I enlist the help of you, Linda, and the help of Sachin, and now there's 3 of us, and then all the other podcast guests, like what could be possible if we actually band
That's another whole other level. That's awesome. Yeah.
There's like 10 of us now who are now approaching the Board of Education, like, hey, we got this after school program we think would be so rad. Let's pilot it for 1 year. See how it goes.
Yeah, I think that goes into like things like human rights. Like, look what differences were made with like Gandhi or Maya Angelou. Like, so many people out there where people came together.
I hope, this is a testament as well. I mean, we're here in this location because of other amazing artists and technicians who have jumped on board and have created this space where we're able to share. So let's, maybe I'll wrap it up on that note that we'll continue the collabs, the collective conversations, and all of us pitching in all of our resources and our experiences. Hi. See you, Gus. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the wrap party for this project.
I didn't know there was a wrap party. Awesome.
I officially said it on tape. So thank you, Kate. Thank you, Sachin. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Lately I've been trying to find my way to a place where life is more than empty space. Wondering where I belong, just don't fit in, 'cause I choose not to play